You sure can tell the UFC is trying to fill out that UFC ESPN contract because we got Jessica I and Cynthia Calvillo as a main event. What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp, Fightful.com and FightfulMMA.com here to wrap up this UFC Vegas 2 card, as they're calling it. It's not UFC on ESPN 74 or UFC on ESPN plus 3 or whatever shit that a lot of outlets name it. It's called UFC Vegas 2, I versus Calvillo. This is not a main event worthy fight, although I do have a lot of respect for Cynthia Calvillo. Let's go ahead and get into this show. This was a train wreck from the jump. Tons of fights pulled, tons of fights canceled, tons of fights changed. You had Ray Borg that had to withdraw due to personal reasons and was replaced by Gustavo Lopez. You had Tyson Nam and Ryan Benoit that was scheduled for the fight. Benoit was replaced by Zarek Adashev. There were supposed to be Melissa Gatto and Maria Agapova set for the event, but Gatto pulled out and was replaced by Hannah Cyphers. Oh my God. It was nuts. Derek Menier got pulled from his fight with Jordan Griffith as well. It was just nuts. Carl Roberson, Adashev, I all missed weight. I fell off, or didn't fall off. She said she was about to fall off the scales. Nuts. But the opening few fights were great. Now, admittedly, tonight I said, you know what? The most underwhelming card in UFC history. I'm going to do something I've never done in the 4 years of covering fights on Fightful. I'm going to show up late for a UFC fight night. Quite frankly, I knew there was nothing that I would have to write about on this prelim card. To be honest with you, I could have gotten away with not writing anything about this entire card and nobody would have said a damn thing. However, I showed up about 85 minutes late to watch this show, and I was not disappointed by that decision. Why is that? Because this was the first time in UFC history that the first 3 fights all ended in under a minute. I got the first 3 fights all watched within a solid 5 minutes after not showing up for 85 minutes. And I am thrilled with that decision. And that's not me taking a shot at these fights. Great. Christian Aguilera cracked Anthony Ivy. Took him to town. Tyson Nam against Adashev. What a mismatch this is. Tyson Nam, 36 years old. I'm glad to see the guy getting a win. Because quite frankly, I saw the guy lose his way out of World Series of Fighting. I've seen him around a long time. I remember when he fought in Elite XC and King of the Cage and all that stuff. And he was a 12-4 guy that was coming into World Series of Fighting, I want to say like 8 years ago. He was 28 years old, and he came in there. He lost his way out, and he stuck around. He fought around the world, got his way into the UFC, and he was losing. But he starched Adashev with a counter right. It was nasty. You had Gina Mazzani returning from the pro wrestling world, so to speak, short notice against Julia Avila. Julia Avila beat the brakes off of her. By the way, leave a thumbs up, subscribe if you're on this channel. I was most excited on this show to see my boy Merab Dvalishvili fight. Now, if you guys have heard me talk about Merab Dvalishvili, you know that right now I think he should be 6-0. He beat Frankie Saenz. Did he lose that fight? Was he out against Ricky Simone? Who gives a shit? The fight was over. He should be 6-0 right now. And he took down Gustavo Lopez over and over and over again. Really beat that ass. Hawkeye says, congrats on the new staff hire. I enjoyed the UFC 250 article he put out. Yes, Ian, I think it's Benke. If I'm saying that wrong, I'll learn it. But we have a very small MMA staff. It's basically me and David Tees, and Carlos handles the boxing end of things. And, of course, we have great mods like 777. But he offered himself up. He said, hey, I need a summer internship. Can I join the staff? And I said, you know what? I love it. As I always say, I will never ask somebody to work for free, but if they offer themselves up, I won't turn it down, especially when the work was as good as Ian's was for that UFC 250 matchmaker video. So make sure you guys check it out. So honestly, these prelims I was into. The 3 quick finishes, the Mirab Dvalishvili win, all for it. Then we go to Maria Agapova. She takes on Hannah Cifers. I like Hannah Cifers. A nice Twitter follow, nice woman. She came into the UFC 2-1, but she's lost her last 3 fights, and she fought just 2 weeks ago, jumped up in weight. It wasn't happening against Maria Agapova, and I want to see Maria Agapova face somebody next. And I'm not saying that Cifers is a nobody. It's just she moved up. She barely had any time to prepare. I want to see Agapova against somebody else because she had she lost to Cortez on Contender Series, and it was a decision. But then she went to Invicta and did really, really good last year. And I know that she had a car accident earlier this year, and I was very excited to see her face Melissa Gatto because Melissa Gatto was undefeated, but that poor woman can't get in the cage. Melissa Gatto has been pulled from I want to say 5 or 6 fights over the last 2 years. You can't count on her to show up. But Maria Agapova showed up and she beat that ass. The range, she's 5'6" as a flyweight, and she looked like she was 5'10", 5'11". I can't wait to see her fight more. You had number 13 flyweight take on Mark De La Rosa at bantamweight just so they wouldn't have to cut the weight. Mark De La Rosa got dominated here. I thought that he would be a lot better than what we've seen. He came into the UFC and out of Combate, and he was a guy that I came to know because of James Lynch's interviews with him, and he was really young, 22, 23, but he has not been good in the UFC. He won a couple fights. He went 2-1. He jumped back and forth between bantamweight and flyweight, but he's lost 4 in a row, and they haven't been great fights. By the way, if you want me to read your super chat live on the air for the remaining few minutes that we have here, go ahead and donate. I see Maurice has sent one, so I'll see his question momentarily. Andre Fili defeated Charles Jourdain. I was very surprised at the split decision call because I don't know how you could have given that fight to Jourdain. I was thinking this fight wouldn't even go to the scorecards, but the thing is, I did note in the preview that I thought that if Fili won, it would go to the scorecards. If Jourdain won, he would finish it, and that's exactly how it went. So heap praise on me. Maurice said, should UFC book Ngannou Lewis 2 for the Stipe and DC show and make it an interim title? Also, are Masvidal and John Jones going to Bellator? No, they ain't going to Bellator. They definitely ain't going to Bellator. But no, they shouldn't make it for the interim title. Not when Stipe and DC is going to be for the heavyweight title. No. But I mean, I get what you mean because it takes Stipe forever to fight, and DC might retire, but it would be really counterproductive if you had a heavyweight title fight and an interim title fight on the same show. Charles Rosa defeated Kevin Aguilar via split decision. You have Marvin Vettori defeating Carl Roberson. Roberson had missed weight for this fight, and Roberson's one of those guys that can win. He's got a chance against almost anybody, but he's had trouble against some of the better fighters. And Marvin Vettori got a real nice win here. Got that submission win in under, I think about 4.5 minutes. And he's turned things around. He was a guy that came out of Venator. And the thing is, he was somewhat consistent in staying in the cage. He fought a couple times, or he fought like 3 times in 2016, including his first 2 UFC fights. A couple times in 17. He fought once in 18 against Israel Adesanya, but after that, he took a long time off. He took like 15 months off, and then he's fought 3 times since then. And he's won all 3 of those. So he went back to the drawing board and won. I'm all for that. Jessica I, number 1, got just mollywopped by Cynthia Calvillo. Jessica I, the number 1 flyweight, she won't be anymore, but I don't think you should be if you miss weight anyway. But Joseph Boza says the PI stopped Carl from cutting weight. Laura Senko reported he was having issues. I hope he's doing all right. But Cynthia Calvillo, number 10 strawweight, jumping up to flyweight. I'm good with that. I'm good with that because Calvillo, I think against Marina in December, showed up at like 120 pounds. And then I remember in 2018, Calvillo had missed weight against Boterio. And she had fought at flyweight before. Her first fight was at flyweight. I'm pretty sure she fought even at bantamweight on the amateur circuit. So I'm glad to see her moving up, and she's got 1 loss across 8 UFC fights. That's impressive. As for Jessica I, you can tell she was soaking it in being in a main event. And the thing that I like about Jessica I is after all those losses at bantamweight, and really there should have been a flyweight division. She came in, she won 3 fights, she beat really good fighters. She lost her title fight, and she got back to the drawing board. The unfortunate thing is she's blown weight twice. She should not have been the top-ranked flyweight going into this fight. She showed up at 131 fucking pounds in December. She showed up at 126 pounds for this fight. She is a bantamweight now. I don't know. Leave a thumbs up, guys. Thank you. Until next time. We're out.